Hello everyone, welcome back. The purpose of this video is to give you a tour of my cross-stitch journal app to help you to know how to use it. So when you first open up the app, you will see this screen. This is the dashboard. You can see along the bottom there are three icons: dashboard, projects, and charts. And we will talk a little bit about each of those buttons. So the purpose of the app is to track a cross-stitch project from the time that you find something that you want to stitch until the time that you have finished stitching it. And there are 6 stages that your project goes through as you do this. The first stage is wish list. This is the time when you see a chart that you would like to buy. You can put it in your wish list. And then after you have bought the chart, you can move it to the have chart stage. And then when you have kitted up your project, you can move it to the ready to start stage. And then after you have started the project, you move it to the started stage. And after you finish stitching, you can move it to the finished stage. The pause stage is for projects that are in timeout. That makes it so the project is still there, but it won't show up in any of the reports or charts. I like to do that just because sometimes I'm trying to decide what I want to do with a project, and I just don't want it cluttering up the charts. So I put it in the paused stage. This makes it so that you can have different lists of projects. For example, if you decide that you are going to buy a chart, you can pull up your wish list and see a list of charts that you have decided that you want to stitch, that you would like to stitch, and decide which one you want to buy, for example. Or if you are ready to start something, you can pull up your ready to start list and see a list of all of your projects that are ready to go so that you can decide which one you want to start. The projects tab, this is where you will spend most of your time. This will give you a list of all of your projects filtered according to what stage you have selected. So this icon up in the upper right-hand corner, the 4 circles, if you click on this icon, that will give you a menu that you can select which stage you want to filter by. So if I select Have Chart, here's a list of all of the projects that I have the chart for. Or if I select Ready to Start, here's a list of the projects that I could start. The filter that you will probably spend your most time on is the started filter, because these are your active wicks. These are your active whips that you are currently stitching. The other icon in the upper left, the circle with the 3 dots, if you press that icon, it will bring up a menu of things that you can do. So in this case, add project, you can add a new project where you can enter a project name, the designer, what stage you want it to be in. The stage will automatically be set to the stage that you are currently filtering by, but you can change that. Of course, the stitch width, height, and number of pages in the design, and you can enter the count, the fabric information that you want to stitch it on, the count, the number of strands, if you're stitching over 1 or over 2, the name of the fabric and the name of the floss that you are using. If you are entering in a project that you are already stitching, you can toggle previously stitched and enter in the number of stitches that you have already completed and the number of pages that you've already completed. and you can enter the start date, the date that you started it. That defaults to the current date. I'm going to hit cancel to up in the upper left hand corner to dismiss this. But if you were to edit, make your edits, you would want to do save in order to add that project. And I am going to discard my changes. You can also use the fabric calculator to calculate to determine what size of fabric, how much fabric you need for a given project. So if we select one of the projects that are started, this brings up an information screen. You can see there are 4 tabs across the top, and these are used to select what information you want to see. Details shows you everything that you have entered in about the project. So this is the Red House sampler. This is it is in the started stage. Here's the design size and the fabric that I am using and when I started it. The summary tab, this is basically summary statistics about this project. I usually spend most of my time on this because I like to look at this. You can see when I started the project, how many days I have stitched on it, how far along I am, and a prediction of how many days are left to stitch, and uh, if I were to stitch on this project exclusively, when I would finish it. So that would be today plus 4 days. The charts tab lets you visualize some of the statistics about your project. The pace chart shows you how fast you've been stitching, and the numbers are here, the number of stitches per session. So you can see I started out stitching about 1,000 stitches per session. I got to a point where I was actually stitching more than that, and then I got to a point where things got a lot more complicated, and so my pace dropped. The percent tab shows the percentage, how your chart has progressed over time as you stitch towards 100%. The hours tab shows the amount of time that you've stitched. I have not been very faithful on keeping track of times, so this chart here looks pretty different from everything else. The pages chart shows you when you have finished pages. With this project, there are only 2 pages, and I haven't finished either page, so this doesn't look very interesting at all. If we went to another project that has a lot of pages, like Autumn Magic, you can see how I've finished pages as I have stitched that. So that's the project deal. This is the project details page. Once again, you have the icon, the menu icon up in the upper right hand corner. If you click on that, you can see you have different options. You can edit your project. So this is how you change details about your project, maybe change the stage as you move it from one stage to another. Archive, that will remove the project from all lists, but keep all of the logs, and we'll talk about logs in a little bit minute. That makes it so you don't lose any of your data, but you won't ever see that project again. I use that for projects that I decide that I want to restart. I will archive them because I want to see the logs that I kept in my charts. The delete button will completely delete the project and all of its logs. And what's interesting, and the button that I use the most on this is the start stitching button. So if we select start stitching, that means that this project is now active and I am stitching on it. This is how you can track time, the amount of time that you stitch on a project. You can see down at the bottom, we have a little icon indicating a badge indicating that we have a project that is now active. The first time that you do this, you will be asked to enable badges on the app icon. And if you enable badges on the app icon, it will also show up on the app icon to kind of let you know in case you forget to stop stitching. So after you've been stitching for a while, when you finish stitching, you can select that menu again, and now you can see it says stop stitching. So we will click stop stitching, and you come up with this screen that tells you when you're stitched, when you started, when you stopped. Active, we've stopped stitching, so this log is no longer active, and you can enter in the number of stitches that you made or the number of pages that you've completed. And I am going to say that I stitched 100 stitches and save the log. Now, when you do this, your summary statistics are going to change. Also, let's start stitching again. You will see when you start stitching, if you go back to the project list, there will be a little stopwatch icon next to that project indicating that it's active. The logs button, this is a list of all of the dates that I have stitched on this project, and you can bring up each one and see how many stitches you made, when that was done, how many minutes it was. You can see my active log. If we click on that, you can see it is active, and you could manually come in and edit this log and manually turn off the active button and enter the number of stitches rather than doing stop stitching. Okay, so I am going to let's do that. So we're going to edit the log, say it is not active anymore, and that I did 100 stitches. Okay, now I have 2 logs that I have done today. So that's the projects chart. Also, from the project list, there is another way to start and stop stitching, and that is by, if you swipe a project to the right until you get this blue button, that will also make an active project, right? And after you have stitched, you can swipe again till you get the stop button, and once again enter the number. You will be able to enter the number of stitches that you've made. You may notice that there is a second button, the button with the arrow that points to the right will advance this project to the next stage in the sequence. So right now this is started, so if I advance this project, it would move to finished. So that is about all that you can do with your project list. Finally, I should also say, when you bring up a log, you have this button up here, and you can go in and manually edit a log to change values, or you can also delete a given log. Okay. So let's talk about charts. You saw the charts. You have a chart for each project, and this charts button gives you basically a summary for all of your projects that are currently active or that you have worked on. You can see here I have the summary chart selected, and this gives you a summary of the number of days that you have worked on each project. In this case, I have the year button selected, so this is over the past year. And I can click on a bar and it'll tell me what project it is and how many days I've stitched on this. And you can swipe across and see all of the project names and how many days you've stitched on each project. You can see up by the date. This is for 2022. You have arrows on either side of that date. That makes it so you can navigate back through time. So I just press the left arrow, and now here are all the projects that I stitched in 2021, the number of days that I stitched on each project. And you can navigate through your project history this way. You can also summarize, in addition to summarizing by year, you can summarize by month, or you can summarize by week or by day. So the way I stitch one project a week, so the day or the week summaries are generally not very useful to me. I do like the month and the year summaries. The percent chart shows you all of your current active projects and how close they are to being finished. And once again, you can click on a bar and see the project name and the actual percentage. Days, this indicates the number of days that you have stitched on a project and the number of days that are remaining. The blue bar is the number of days that you have stitched, and the green bar is the number of days remaining. And once again, you can click on a project and see that. And the trend, this is just the number of starts and finishes that you've made by year. So you can see, basically, you can see in 2022, I have started 2 projects and finished 2 projects. So those are all of the charts that are available. There are also things that you can do to change the behavior of the app, and I want to talk about a couple of those really quick. And those are in the settings app. So if you pull up the settings app, you can see it'll be clear down at the bottom of your settings just because of the name of the app. And click on XS Journal. This will bring up your settings. This top block of settings is common to all apps. You can see this toggle to track empty stitches. I don't track empty stitches. I just count 10 by 10 blocks. So I stitch about 100 stitches every block. If you want to count actual stitches, then you would need to enter in the number of stitches that you have made and possibly also enter in the number of empty stitches that you have covered. If you want to do that, you would want to toggle that button, and then you would have the option to enter empty stitches, both when you start a project and every time you log stitches. Right now, and by default, you can track stitching time. If you're not interested in tracking stitching time, you can turn that off. And if you do that, then instead of starting and stopping stitching, you will have the option to add a log where you can enter in the date and the number of stitches that you have made. Cumulative hours, pages, charts. You saw the graphs. You saw how the hours and pages increase over time. If I turn off cumulative hours and pages charts, then you will just see a bar for each day indicating how many hours or pages that you stitched and you made in that day. So it won't increase, it'll just be bars. Enable import, that gives you the ability to import data from a spreadsheet. We'll talk about that in just a minute. And suggested fabric information. With this button toggled, when you first start a project, you can enter, this gives you the option to enter in the fabric and the floss that is suggested by the chart. And then when you actually start the project, you can enter in the fabric and the floss that you actually are using for your project. Otherwise, if this is turned off, you will only have one option for fabric, one fabric that will stay the same across all stages. I like to do suggested fabric because if I decide I want to buy something, I want to buy fabric, I can pull up my project and see what is suggested to give me for a feel for what I might want to buy. The default fabric settings, you can enter in your own values here and they will be automatically populated when you add a project so that you don't have to always enter it. For example, if you always stitch on 40 count fabric, you could change that here. And then when you create a new project, it will always say 40 count. And then the lists, you can change the sort order for all of the lists. The default sort order, you can sort by name or by stitch count, and you can either sort ascending or descending. But for started and finished projects, there are more options. For a started project, you can sort by name, by stitch count, by percent complete, by last stitch date or start date. I like using last stitch date. That makes it so that my most recently stitched project is at the top because I have descending sort. If you were to choose percent complete, then your closest project to being finished would be selected, for example. And then finished, you can sort by name, by stitch count, by start date, or by finish date. So those are all the settings that are available to you. Let's talk about importing. Let's see here. Just to show you this, now that I have cumulative turned off, you can see I have a bar for every time that I have stitched. So that's the difference between cumulative and non-cumulative charts. If you go back to dashboard, up in the upper right hand corner, you can see the circle with the down arrow. This brings up, if you click on that, that brings up a sheet that enables you to import data. And you can import data from the spreadsheet that I have created. If you've been keeping track in your spreadsheet, you will need to use Cross-Stitch Journal version 4, which is a recent update to that spreadsheet. You can download it. There's a link to download that spreadsheet in the comments of in this video's comments. And then you need to go to tabledconvert.com. There are two tabs in this spreadsheet. One is the projects export, and the other is the logs export. You need to copy the data from these two tabs into a field on tableconvert.com and convert that data into JSON. After you create the JSON files, you need to place them in a place that is accessible by your phone. Probably the best place to do that is in the Documents directory in your iCloud account. If you have a Mac, you can copy those JSON files into your iCloud Documents directory using Finder. If you don't have a Mac, you can access the documents directory by going to iCloud.com in a browser and then upload the files into that documents directory. If you click on the import project file or import log file, you can navigate to that directory and find the files in there to select. You can select that JSON file to import. So we will do that. I'm going to re-import the data that I have. So projects import and logs import. I have it here. Select my logs. I have selected those files. Now when I import, there will be a warning saying this is going to delete all of your data before we import new data. And that's okay with me. So I'm going to hit Start Import. And after a pause, this screen will go away and I will have everything imported the way I was when I started this video without the logs that I added. Okay, so there is a good tour of my app. If you have any suggestions of graphs that you would like to see or features that you would like added, please let me know. If there's anything that really annoys you that you think I can make better, please let me know your suggestions. I have tried to make this work as easy as possible, but I am always open to suggestions from you. So let me know what you think, and I will, if I can do it, I will be glad to make this app better. I have some other ideas of things that I want to do, mostly along the lines of integrating with the iPhone that I also want to implement. If I have had questions about whether or not this app will be released on Android, if you are interested in an Android version of this app, comment below. I don't know how to develop for Android, so I would have to do the same thing. I would have to learn Android app development, and that will take a while. So I won't be able to release an Android version right away. But if there are enough people that are interested in an Android version, I would like to know whether or not it would be worth my time to learn Android app development and develop an Android app. This is my app. I hope that you enjoy using it, and I hope this helps you understand how to use it. Thanks for watching, and we will talk to you later. Goodbye.